To love horror is an oxymoron, because horror is one of the farthest things from love. It's an intense, negative feeling of fear, shock, or disgust. But horror continues to be an ever-popular genre in movies, games, and other recreational activities. So why would we enjoy something that's meant to elicit such painful emotions? This question, the paradox of horror, has been the subject of many philosophical and scientific discussions and papers. And in this video, we're going to talk about exactly that. Why we love horror, and why we want to be afraid. If horror is meant to scare us, then we have to first start by understanding fear. Fear is widely understood to be an adaptive trait for survival. It's one of the 6 basic emotions, after all, felt by people universally, regardless of upbringing. Fear helped our ancestors out incredibly. And not just those ancestors, but those ones, and probably the dinosaurs as well. Fear has maintained itself from the Mesozoic to the present, as an incredibly useful tool for safety and survival. If you see a pair of glaring eyes staring right at you, you may feel scared because you're probably being hunted. If you're standing on a large cliff and look down into the far chasms of jagged rocks, you may feel scared because a fall will almost surely turn you into a cliff kebab. If you see someone who you knew in high school in the grocery store, you may feel scared because you'll be forced into a social interaction. Oh no. In all of these cases, fear is a signal, an emotional appraisal of present dangers, which then promotes you to avoid those dangers. This is what helped our ancestors stay alive. Fear as a risk assessment mechanism that kept them safe when there were predators, competitors, or environmental dangers to be wary of. This is supported by numerous studies that show our fear of snakes. Participants in a wide array of experiments have identified snakes more quickly than other threats, and emitted fear responses much more reliably to snakes than when compared to other dangers. This happens regardless of whether people are from places that actually have snakes or not, implying that it doesn't have to be learned. Snakes were just that much of an ancestral threat to us. Even infants and monkeys show measurable fear responses when shown images of snakes. This also seems to be the case for spiders. So fear keeps us safe from primal dangers, but it's also a learning mechanism for novel ones. The brain remembers things that threw it into fear remarkably clearly, and it keeps you afraid and thus away from that frightening thing. Fear as a learning tool is well demonstrated by its prevalence in children's stories, folktales, and myths. So many of these cautionary tales use fear to teach lessons and deter certain behaviors. Ghosts that will haunt you for lying to your family. Trolls that will eat you for wandering too far from home. Demons that will torture you for being sinful or naughty around Christmas time. Fear is so commonly used to motivate behaviors that adults around the world have superstitions, rituals to ward off evil, or systems that provoke fear to prevent misbehavior. When extended to disorderly degrees, fear can even be responsible for several mental afflictions or traumas. So we have good reason to believe that fear is a negative stimulus. Incredibly useful, but negative. It's crucial for survival that we both feel it and that we don't enjoy it. How else would it promote us to stay away from dangers? Horror as an entertainment genre completely goes against this, bringing us back to the paradox of horror. Why would someone seek out being scared? Well, it's because, like most adaptations, our fear system can be taken advantage of. Many animals have adaptations to exploit fear in other species, like this lizard expanding its frills to appear larger and scare away predators, or this harmless robber fly who mimics the coloration of bumblebees, scaring away animals with the threat of a stinger that it doesn't have at all. Horror media takes advantage of our fear as well, not by using cues to invoke it, but by providing a different context to experience those cues in. If there's anything that's different about screaming your lungs out because a monster just came out of your closet, or doing so in response to a movie character in that same situation, it's that it's not actually happening to you, obviously. Getting to vicariously experience that fear undoubtedly leads to a better experience than the character experiencing it firsthand. And when there isn't a true punishment, when we can disconnect our fear response to the perceived threat of danger, all of a sudden, everything flips on its head. What normally would lead to aversion now leads to excitement. When you're in fear, your body activates activates its sympathetic nervous system, responsible for your fight or flight response. This increases your heart rate, stimulates your sweat glands, and releases a bunch of chemicals. Adrenaline, endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin all start circulating throughout your body during the fear response. But what's interesting is that all of these chemicals can also be associated with positive feelings. Endocrinology is really complicated. Oftentimes, the same hormone is expressed during opposing situations. It can be something else that tells you if those hormones make you feel good or bad. So when your body can recalibrate its relationship with fear and make it something that it doesn't deem to be dangerous, being deathly afraid starts to not be that far off from a state of euphoria. This might be why people often report a feeling of catharsis after watching horror films. This might also explain thrill-seeking activities. Roller coasters, skydiving, cliff jumping, wingsuiting, even near-death experiences all provide a strong sense of euphoria. These things, designed to have you having fun under impossibly intense and normally scary circumstances, have people seeking them out all the time because of how good it makes them feel. I really wonder, if you had people report how they felt after skydiving and after they played a horror game, how differently would they feel? But horror media might be more than helping us feel good. It may also help us deal with fears directly. It's the same principle as exposure therapy, which often involves exposure to an object of fear or avoidance, slowly introducing it more and more to help a patient work at getting used to it. By experiencing stress cues in a context where you're under control, you can learn to better face it and maybe even eradicate it as a fear entirely. Horror may provide an entertaining way to do that. It's often reported to help individuals overcome fears, or at least become more comfortable with dealing with them. And there seems to be a correlation between people having anxiety or trauma disorders and the reported benefit of intaking horror media. Maybe, by watching demons on screen, we're able to slay them internally. And clearly I support the slaying of demons. Horror fans may also deal with new fearful situations better than non-horror fans, because horror media is said to increase the amount of negative psychological stimulation one can handle. In response to the recent COVID-19 pandemic, it was reported that fans of horror were more psychologically resilient to everything going on. And some other studies seem to suggest that horror films are more popular during large-scale periods of stress. As the king of horror himself once said, "We make up horrors to help us cope with real ones." Horror is such a unique and underappreciated genre of media. It promotes connection. I mean, horror movies are watched together more frequently than any other type of film. It engages and recalibrates a primal system within us, turning what should be a negative experience into an immensely positive one. It helps us learn, helps us cope, and keeps us pretty damn entertained. Fear is fun when going through a haunted house, or getting jump scared in a game, or reeling at the monster on screen. We can't help but cherish and seek all of that. So the next time I gather around a fire with some friends to share scary stories, laughing and screaming and hopefully learning, I'm gonna think about our ancestors that did the same, time and time again, sitting around, having a great time, trying to scare each other, and being scared. Generations upon generations of people who wanted to be afraid. Okay, well, that's pretty much it. Happy Halloween, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Only 5% of people who watch my videos are subscribed. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. You don't have to be afraid. Okay, happy Halloween. Bye.